Hey, welcome to the Rundown with Ramon. I'm so glad you're here today. So glad you're here. In today's show, we're going to talk about several things, including a lesson I learned when I lost my keys and I didn't listen. And I learned a valuable lesson. We're also going to touch on how negative thoughts can impact our daily lives and so much more. There's lots more tips and insights to help you live your best life. And really in each episode, we want to help you grow your business and or improve your life, which includes your family and health and finances, and hey, even your faith. By the way, I have 2 adult children and been married almost 30 years, and I'm a serial entrepreneur, a best-selling author of several books, a keynote speaker, and you can get to know me better at RamonRay.com. So thanks for watching, and let's get started on the Rundown with Ramon. All right, so recently I lost my car keys and household keys. I'm sure you've done that before. I'm not the only one. So I did that before. I looked absolutely everywhere for those keys and couldn't find them. I looked in the car, under the couch, under this and that, outside, in my shoes, all over the place, and I couldn't find it. And so my niece said, Uncle Ramon, why don't you look in the car? And I looked in the car, but didn't look where she said to look, so I knew they couldn't be there. And finally, I washed the car, as I do on a regular basis. I like a clean car. And as I was washing the car, looking in the back seat, I said, let me check out where she said the keys could be. And I thought they couldn't. In the back seat, between the seats, and they were there. Lesson learned. Sometimes we lose things. Sometimes something may happen overall, and we think that we are so right. We think that we're so correct, and lo and behold, we're wrong, and it pays to listen to somebody even if we don't think they know what we're talking about. And my niece is older, she's an adult, so I should have listened to her in any case, but for some reason I was like, nah, what does she know? I've looked everywhere. So have you ever been in that case where somebody told you something and you ignored it? I'd love to know. Hit me up on Instagram or Twitter or Facebook, whatever it is, but let me know if that's happened to you. So I found the keys, and I'm so glad. Lesson learned, of course, to be careful, but also, and maybe more importantly, it's okay sometimes, a lot of times, to listen to others so we don't mess up. Up next, listen. CNBC reports that the FBI says fraud on LinkedIn is a significant threat. We all love LinkedIn and use LinkedIn quite a bit, I'm sure. In fact, find me on LinkedIn and definitely connect to me on LinkedIn. Let me know you're watching the Rundown with Ramon. But here's a few things that CNBC and the FBI says. 1, fraudsters who exploit LinkedIn lure users into cryptocurrency investment schemes pose a significant threat, the FBI says. They pose a threat to the platform and consumers, according to Sean Reagan, the FBI special agent in charge of the San Francisco, Sacramento, California offices. Here's the thing, listen carefully. A fraudster posing as a professional creates a fake profile and reaches out to a LinkedIn user like me or like you. The scammer, they start out with a small talk on LinkedIn. You hear that? Small talk. How are you? How are things? What's going on? And then they gently move that talk to something else. Victims who were interviewed said that since LinkedIn is a trusted platform for business networking, they kind of believe the investments are legitimate. Now, LinkedIn cautioned in a recent blog post, cautioned people against sending money to people that they meet through the platform that they really don't know, and responding to accounts with questionable work history or other red flags such as poor grammar. Bottom line here is I encourage you, be careful. Anybody you connect to on the social platforms, be very, very careful and ask yourself, how long have I known them? Who referred me to them? What other business have I done with them? Be very careful, especially unless it's somebody who you really know on LinkedIn. And even though you think you know them, be careful. Is it really that person behind the platform? So some tips. 1, verify. You really want to verify and get to know people, who they are. Be careful. Second thing, be very cautious of sending money to someone you don't really know. In fact, I would dare say you should never do that. Never do that, because it could be a scammer. Another thing to keep in mind, think, how long have I known the person? Have I ever met them in person? Have I done any type of business with them? The longer you can know somebody, the longer you establish a relationship, the more the trust index increases and you can be relatively sure you know them. But really be careful, and ideally meet them in person, meet them at an event, see the frequency, the consistency of how they show up in the world. How many close friends does a person really need? This is an interesting article that I read, and I thought it'd be interesting. Friendships are so important. In fact, friendships are very important, says behavioral economist Dan Ariely. The Economist says friendships are important for our health and well-being. Their absence, which means loneliness, not only makes us sad, but harms us physically about as much as smoking 15 cigarettes a day. Research also suggests that having even one close friend can alleviate the negative effects of loneliness on health and well-being. So what are some tips? What are some things we should keep in mind, especially in the realm of having close friendships? One, as I said, friendships are important. So nurture the friendships you have. Cultivate the friendships you have. But I also encourage you, if you have so-called friends that are really toxic relationships, you may want to consider not having them in your life anymore or not being so close to them, because there's nothing worse than one thing worse, I think, than not having friends is having friends that are toxic friends and drag you down. And remember, friendships, really good friendships, sometimes take a long time to develop and a short time to mess up. I was reading this article in Baker magazine. Who knew that there was a magazine all for bakers? And they said, how do you calculate the amount of money your bakery may need to get started, to get financing for your business? Now, you may not be making something. You may be a small business in some other industry, but I thought it would be interesting to all of us, because many people are trying to start a business. Many people, it's your first business, and it always is every year, every day, somebody's starting a business. So I thought, how do we calculate how much we may need? And I'm not going to get so much into the numbers, but I want to talk about the principles. One, there's types of loans you can get. There's bank loans, term loans, SBA loans, equipment financing, business lines of credit, microloans, a variety of different types of loans that have different interest rates and have different loan amount that you can often get. Now, here's the thing. There's many factors that affect how much you can borrow for your business. One, what is your personal and your business credit score? Number two, what about cash flow issues? What's the cash flow that you have in an existing business or a business that you project that you may wish to start? How long have you been in business? The time in business. Are you making any down payment, or do you have collateral that you can say that, hey, if I don't pay this back, in essence, you get to have this? And then what is the type of industry you're in? That's an important part as well to consider what kind of loan or what kind of money you can get. So bottom line here, if you're thinking of starting a business, here's my advice for you. One, it's better to bootstrap and start the business with your own money. Make sales ahead of time. Pre-sell customers. Get people excited about your vision and dream and get them to buy from you even before you sell them the product. Get them to buy in advance. Number two, a bank loan, as we said. You can go to your bank and get a bank loan. And there's many third-party or a relatively new fintech startups, they're called, and they offer financing as well. And then you have venture funding. What about venture funding so that you can start your business where the person's giving you money not as a loan, but they're investing in your business and they want a high return when it works? So as you're thinking of starting your business, I would say bootstrap it if you can, but if you can't, there are many options that you have as a small business owner to get financing to start your business. Amid industry turbulence, American Airlines focuses on its customers. So there's industry turbulence, and American Airlines is focusing on its customers. Now, you would think and hope that airlines in any industry, any business for that matter, should always focus on its customers. But sometimes when we're flush full of cash, we have a little more money to expand and get new customers and options. But American Airlines is saying, you know what? We're going to be focusing more on our existing customers. Here's what the article said, an executive there says. The pandemic highlighted the need to be focused on customers at all times. In response, we've worked to make our operations more reliable, intuitive, and enjoyable. We're also focused on fine-tuning our premium experiences, and that means you can even have this too. Even if you're a very small business, you can segment your business and your customers out and offer some customers a premium experience, including our 5 flagship lounges, which we've been reopening last September. Last thing they said, as we return to profitability, we have to use data to prioritize. Remember, I just said that. Segmenting your customer base, understanding what they want, because we just don't have the funds to do everything like we'd want to do at once. So this is some tips that you can have too. And as a very small business owner, we don't have the money, we don't have the resources to do everything that we want, but we can segment out our customers, and those that are more highly profitable, those that are maybe more highly valuable as it is, we can get get to know them better, spend more time with them, ask them smarter and better questions, serve them faster, provide them with a better experience so they come back and buy from us over and over again. It's much easier, much cheaper to sell to an existing customer than it is to sell or try to sell to a brand new customer. And here's the trick, here's the secret, as it were. You listening? You ready for this? If you treat your customers right, you can convert many of them into brand ambassadors for you to refer business to you over and over and over again. Another thing that was really interesting here, I saw this headline, Tech Addiction or Habit, 5 ways to assess your social media use. This was very interesting insight that I looked up here. And again, anytime you want any of these things or want more resources, just DM me on Instagram, Ramon Ray Smart Hustle. Just DM me on Instagram anytime you want to connect with me or get additional resources, or if you want to use LinkedIn or the platform of your choice. So, Tech Addiction or Habit, 5 ways to assess your social media use. Article says, even if we're not addicted, it's clear that we're all using social media a lot. I sure am. A Pew Research study last year found that 70% of Facebook users visit the site every day, and that almost half of those daily users access it several times a day. That's me for sure, several times an hour possibly. So how do you understand or know if you're using social media compulsively, and more importantly, what constitutes compulsive use? A 2019 paper says that you've convinced yourself that you have an audience you need to serve. Woo! Have you convinced yourself that you have an audience you need to serve? That's why you have to be on social media. The journal Neuropsychology Review defined compulsive behavior as the feeling we have to do something repeatedly, even when we know we really don't have to. Woo! That's hitting home to me for sure. If you don't increase other things as you reduce social media, almost any other attempt to reduce it won't work. So you can't just not use social media and sit there like a bump on a log. You gotta fill that with something else. Get a good book, spend time with your kids or your spouse, go take a walk in the park, listen to a podcast, etc. Even a podcast is theoretically social media. Said Cal Newport, an associate professor of computer science at Georgetown University and author of Digital Minimalism, Choosing a Focused Life in a Noisy World. Your social media use is getting in the way of a life, and that's the bottom line, people. We want to live a life to the fullest. We want to live life in service of others. We want to live life building up our family, building up our communities. And if we're always on our phone, that's tough. I was in a park recently doing a workout, and I saw the little kids playing, and you see several of the fathers and mothers too, just scrolling on their phone. I get it. But you know what? They're going to be gone soon out of the house. They're going to be adults soon. So every minute we can with our kids, and I'm talking to myself, we should try to do that. Dr. Lemke recommends that people who want to kick a habit do what she calls a 24-hour dopamine fast by not touching any screen-related devices for a day. And I know that feeling. I know what that's like. I know that's like you want to hit the refresh, see who liked something, see who commented on something. There's an excitement there. I know what that's like. And I think, sadly, don't tell anybody this, I'm probably tech addicted for sure, and I need to not be. You need more social media to feel satisfied. You suffer from withdrawal symptoms when you're not on social media. A lot to think about there. Are we addicted to social media or not? I think many of us are. All right, one more thing here. This is by my friend Sarah McCord. She talked about, no, I hate saving money is bad business. Sarah McCord's a smart marketing strategist. And what basically she's saying is this. Sometimes we ask people questions like this. Do you want to save money or not? They're going to answer yes if they want to save money. But who would really answer, no, I don't want to save money? You make people feel like they're idiots. So she recommends doing a double positive, suggests Sarah McCord. You may have seen polls that say this. Do you agree? And the choices are yes, and you know it. That's a double positive. Instead of forcing people to say no or have a negative reaction, be positive, uplifting sometimes in your surveys and get them to say yes in 2 different ways. Now, if it's a survey where you're segmenting an audience, do you like broccoli or do you like fish? Things like that. But what she's saying is sometimes we get people to want to self-negate themselves, and you don't want to do that, says my friend, marketing strategist, Sarah McCord. All right. I had an interesting interview recently on Clubhouse, a social audio app where I'm at quite a bit. You can look me up on Clubhouse, Ramon Ray. And I interviewed 2 fashion executive style coaches, image consultants, as it were, Tavia Sharp and Tanya Sturl. Tavia Sharp and Tanya Sturl, Sterl, and Sharp, SHARP. You can look them up. How you look, how you present yourself impacts sales. Ask yourself, are you showing up as your very best self? Do the images that you want, or does the image that you want, does it match how you actually look? And another thing I learned is, what words do you use? What power words do you use? What affirming words do you use? What confident words do you use? And are you dressing the part, whether it be with your jewelry, with your hair, with your shirt, with the suit you wear or don't wear, with your shoes, even how you walk and how you communicate. So how we look, how we feel, how we style ourselves can go really far into overall our packaging, what the public sees about us. And last point, 5 negative mindsets that can wreck your judgment. Hitendra Wadhwa is a professor at Columbia Business School and the founder of Mentoro Institute, an organization that focuses on leadership development. And the professor said, mind reading is one. That's a negative thing that you can be doing that can drag you down. Mind reading happens when we assume we know what the other person is thinking or feeling. Don't assume. Ask and find out for real what they think, what they think that you're saying, or rather what you think they're saying. Confirm that. Ask them that. Mental filtering. Mental filtering makes you pay attention to a small set of observations and ignore all others. I can do that probably way too much with my wife. She's saying 10 or 5 different things, and I only focused on one thing she said. Shame on me. I got to get the whole picture. So mental filtering, labeling. When I called myself incompetent or described the situation as a nightmare, I was labeling. So be careful that we label something that maybe it's not, or maybe there's another word we can use to label it, not giving a caricature of something that's in our mind, but not the reality. Blame is another thing. When I concluded that my class was no good, I was engaging in self-blame. So be careful of blaming. And last point here, all or nothing thinking. All or nothing thinking causes us to view things in a polarized manner as wholly good or wholly bad. So listen, when you wake up in the morning, affirm yourself. Think positive thoughts. Think good thoughts. Start the day well. Even do that when you go to bed. And understand that our mind, it impacts our business and our life relationships. So instead of thinking negative thoughts, you want to think the most positive thoughts that you can to live your best life. I'm Ramon Ray. This is the Rundown with Ramon. Get to know me better at RamonRay.com. And I look forward to your comments on the Rundown with Ramon. Up next, we have a power panel that's going to talk about the things we've just talked about. Stay tuned. Hey, well, welcome back to the Rundown with Ramon. One of the favorite parts of the session we have today is the panel we have on the Rundown with Ramon, where we dive into what I just talked about with the panel of experts and friends who are rolling with me today to share with you their perspective, their insight, their tips, their stories of what they're doing in their personal lives and to grow their businesses. Robert Kennedy, how are things in your world? How you feeling today, brother? What's going on?
Spectacular, bro. Can't complain. Things are fantastic. I am living, breathing. I can't complain, man. Nothing else to say. I'm good. Great. Fantastic.
So good. You don't even know what else to say. It's so good.
Yeah.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
Lolita, what about you? How are things in your world? How you doing?
Excellent. Listen, the first thing that came to mind was living la vida loca. So I am doing okay, I see you. I'm doing all of the things today. It's bright outside. I could complain, but why? And guess who I'm here with? That would be the Ramon Ray and RK3. So too excited.
That's right. Let's get this show on the road. As we previewed earlier, as we talked about, we touched on, Robert, about I lost my car keys, Robert. I don't know if you, by the way, Lolita or Robert, if you ever lost your car keys, can I see you wave your hand? Or am I the only? Okay, good. So Robert has never lost his car keys ever.
Oh, I was looking to see if I could find mine right now. I'm like, where are my car keys at? Where are my keys?
So what happened, Robert, is I lost my car keys, Robert. My niece was telling me all how to look for them, do this, do that. And I was doing that. Then she said, Ramon, Uncle Ramon, look in the back seat of the car. And I was like, no, of course, because I'm right. She's wrong. She's just a niece. They're not there. And but then I washed my car out, Robert, and I looked where she said to look. Guess what? The dang car keys were there. So the lesson I learned, sometimes, you know what? I think, we need help. But more importantly, even if you think somebody doesn't know what they're talking about, and I should have never thought that, but I'm just being vulnerable. That's what I did, Robert. You should listen to people. Have that ever happened to you, Robert, where somebody in your life was like, Robert, just do something in your mind. You're like, that's the silliest piece of advice. Talk to us, Robert.
I mean, I'm married, dude. Yeah. My wife tells me to do stuff all the time, and I'm like, what? No, that don't make no sense.
Yes.
Then we come back, and she's like,
Right.
I told you, because that's just how it is, man. I mean, I think what happened, we are in the middle of our own stuff, right? And it's hard for us to see outside of our own. We can't see our own blind spots. And so when we have people around us who are able to see that stuff and who are able to give us a little bit of guidance, man, it's wisdom is taking some of that in and implementing it, because we're not perfect. We're messed up. We're flawed.
No, for sure. But Lolita, why do you think that is that we push back so many times and like we resist? We think we're right. Why do we push back so many times when that happens? Any thoughts on that? Just from your experience, why we do that?
You just think you're right. Already looked there. Why would I leave it there? You have all these things. You know what? Just go and take a look, because it might be right there. But one of the things I did here, I lose my keys all of the time. So I have a place in my house where I hang them up. And occasionally it's not there, right? Just happened last week. I am waiting for, and tell me if it exists. I am waiting for, you know how you can find your iPhone? I want to find my keys. Does it exist?
It does.
I need it.
Apple has the air tags.
Yes.
So I have an air tag on my wallet as well as my keys right now, because I too have a rack in my kitchen where we're supposed to hang the keys, right? And I'm successful a lot of the times, but there are those days where you come in, especially when you have those cars where it's like the start stop button, right? And you don't need to take the keys out of the ignition. The keys are in your pocket or somewhere, and you walk in the house and you're like, it's in your jacket. You're hanging the jacket up in the closet, and you're like, crap, where's my keys? The next time. So these air tags, or if for those of you that use another brand, Tile is fantastic. Yeah, I use those to be able to look on my phone
for a pin
to find where my keys are.
Did you hear that? Lolita says she's looking for a pin. She lost her pen.
But guess what I have right here? I'm putting it in the phone.
I love it. This is good. Again, everybody, welcome to the Rundown with Ramon as we continue your top tips to grow your business and have a better life. Another thing that was interesting here that happened, Lolita, I'm going to turn to you first, is the FBI is telling us, Lolita, that LinkedIn is a breeding ground for fraud. And I think that all online activities can be fraudulent. But let me share some things with you all that I saw here. One, fraudsters who exploit LinkedIn lure users in, and the big thing they're doing is cryptocurrency. So that's one of the keywords they're using LinkedIn for. Two, it often says, Alicia, that fraudsters are posing as professionals, creating fake profiles, and then kind of warming you up. They're DMing you, hey, Lolita, how are you? You do rhyme and rhythm so well. You're so spoken. Lolita's like, oh, thank you. I know. Then a week later, they're like, oh, could you send me a copy of your book? I just bought it. And then you know where I'm going. And then 4 weeks later, you think you're best friends with Jeremy. And then he's like, you know what, Lolita, you want to click here and just look at this investment, which is reasonable. You and I and Robert are in circles. We learn about this. And then bottom line, the FBI is saying the scam happens. So I think the lesson learned here, the FBI is saying, verify, be cautious, be careful. Lolita, talk to us. What have you seen, or what's your advice? We're all online. We're all clicking links. Have you been Lolita, that happened to you, or have you been close to like, let me not click. Something doesn't feel right. Talk to us about that.
You know what? I've never been close to clicking, and thank God I haven't clicked, but I know people who have clicked. And so I think that the red flags, like if it doesn't feel right, then don't leap in. And the beauty now, because there's so much that's going on, everything's social, right? Everything is social. So everybody wants to be an expert in here and that. So honestly, if I see Bitcoin, if I see FOREX, if I see any of those things, I'm like, delete, move on. And the reason is because I don't have the time, the place, the space, the need, the room in order to investigate. And so therefore I have a wealth advisor, and I'm moving all that stuff to him. I think the red flags are there. There's so much happening between NFTs and all of these other things that we can't really touch and feel. Therefore, make sure you move it on to a professional, right?
But what if it's so juicy, Lolita? What if it's like, you've known Becky for 8 months, and she says, just click and just give only like 15,000, Lolita. What do you do? I mean, come on now.
Becky is not talking to me asking for $15,000 to just press here.
I love it. I love it.
But
Robert,
no,
Thing
I think to your point,
Yeah.
we get into this rhythm, especially because we're in social networks, and so you start to make this rapport. You start to feel like family, and somebody says, "Hey, you know what? I have this amazing investment opportunity over here." And to me, $15,000 is to me a lot of enough to be like, let me research Becky a little bit more. I kind of met Becky over here. Let me just see a little bit more. So for
Yeah.
me, I think it's just that red flag of it doesn't really feel right.
talk to us, Robert.
Well, you know what? I think when it comes to online scamming, this is not a rule, but as a general practice, we have history on our side. You said Becky's going to cultivate you for 8 months. Scammers usually don't cultivate people for 8 months. They want to get in, get out, and move on. So one of the things that I do is if I get somebody sending me a link saying, hey, do this, this is great. If I've never met that person before, I'm checking their profile. How long have they been online? What other types of activities and posts have they been doing? And I don't spend a lot of time doing that these days because I think I have a pretty good sense of it. But for people who are, questioning or I'm not sure if I should, check their online history.
Yes.
And yeah, those words, Forex, Bitcoin. Have you seen any of that stuff in the profile, especially if that's right in the headline and you don't see anything else on their posting or their feed? Then yeah, you want to be careful about that stuff, and definitely don't click the link without doing any research.
Yeah.
And
I think
Googleable, right? Can I type your Googleable? Yes. Can I type your name? Because I do this quite a lot. Even when I'm meeting somebody, if we've been in discussions for a little while, I'll put your name right inside of Google. And I want to see
Yep.
what pops up. And something has to pop up. It's either going to be your Instagram, it's going to be your socials, it's going to be LinkedIn, it's going to be an article. Something has to come up, especially when you're in a professional setting. So don't forget where you are, the audience that it is. And if it doesn't jive up, then I'm going to need us to move on back.
So don't target Lolita or Robert for your scam.
No.
Pick somebody else. Absolutely. And I think what's interesting about this, LinkedIn, I think adds a different dimension. I'd be curious what you think, Robert, is that other social media platforms may be real quick and done, but LinkedIn has that thing of nurturing relationship, talk to you a bit. So, they're maybe I can say they're smarter thieves on LinkedIn. I don't know if that makes sense what I'm trying to say, but it seems like a different tactic of criminality, Robert. What do you think? Does that make any sense?
I mean, I guess so. I think it's the same rules apply, though. I think because LinkedIn has historically been the more professional platform, it's not been the hotbed for scammers,
right,
in the past. So people may get a false sense of security, feel a little bit safe. Like, no, it's just the professionals on here. The scammers aren't coming here. And so when the scammers do, they're not as likely to do the research that we might do on other platforms. But it's the internet. It's the interwebs, right? So these days, anytime something is popular, anytime something has a certain number of people on it, there's going to be some nefarious folk that are like, let me get over there. So just have your guards up.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, for sure. Robert, let's take a minute here. We're going to jump into our next topic will be how many close friends does a person really need? Before we do that, Robert, you're a friend of mine. Take 10 seconds right too, and let us know, Robert, who you are, what you do for the world, where's the best place to reach you. Tell us a bit about yourself, Robert.
My goodness, my name is Robert Kennedy III. RK3 is what the cool people call me. You can see that. I am a storytelling and communication coach, trainer, keynote speaker. You can find me at robertkennedy3.com, or if you happen to be on the socials, you can find me on LinkedIn too. I promise I won't scam you. I promise.
I love it. Lolita Walker, talk to us about yourself, what you do for the world, and the best place people can find you also, Lolita.
Yes. Did you see Robert's eyes? He gave it to us right there. I love it. Yes, I am Lolita E. Walker. I am a certified life leadership and executive coach. I'm also a power speaker, keynote speaker, MC, and all of the things. I also have a podcast and all of the things. My goal in life is to really power women to pull the greatness that is right already inside of them and help them to leap beyond where they stand today. And then, of course, I work with some of your favorite organizations to help them to drive increased clarity, confidence, and commitment so that we can show all the way up all of the time.
Love it.
Oh, where can you meet? Where can you get me? Yes, all things lolitawalker.com. LOLITA walker.com. Thanks.
Love it. Absolutely.
Don't ever be on the internet and start typing in LOL. It's gonna auto correct with Lolita's name. Yeah, yeah. Just in case.
I'm pausing because I want to have a break, people. That's why I'm pausing. I want to have a break. That's okay. I'm like, you know what? I told them to keep going. So I'm just gonna break into it. How many close friends does someone need? Hold up a show of fingers, Lolita and Robert. Like 1, 2, 3. Is it like unlimited? Let me see some hands there, Robert, Lolita, as I'm teeing this up.
Definitely one hand, and it really goes down to probably this.
Robert's like 1 or 2.
Yeah, like
Lolita got it. All right, listen here. How many close friends does a person need? I heard from article from behavioral economist Dan Ariely talks about that, and we heard about this in my previous session. But friendships, Lolita, they're important. I think that everybody needs a friend. Everybody wants to love. Everybody wants to be loved. But I'm curious because the article explored, how many do we need, which we can get into. But let's even raise that. You talk to female founders and entrepreneurs and all the people all the time. Let's just talk about the aspect of friendships. Is it important? Is it not? What have you learned over the years, Lolita, about this aspect of friendships? Talk to us.
Friendship, sometimes it's really about belonging. And we all want to feel important. We all want to feel loved. And so we want this sense of belonging, right? That's normal. I think when you say close friends, I keep my close friend circle tight. So I like to think of it like an inner circle, and then you have other people. When I say you're my best friend, then that means that you are the super inner closeness of me. And I have one of those. And actually, that one didn't come until I was a grown up, until I was a full adult. And so what I say is that I think friendships are important, right? We have to connect in order to move anywhere. I need to know a Ramon. I need to say, hey, I need to be social. I need people because I can't do it on my own. But how do we define friend? And when is I'm going to call it your barrier. I hate to say that, but the fence, let's call it a fence, right? Your personal fence. I love it because there's a door right there. And sometimes the door can keep folks out because you need time to pause, right? To take it all in. And then sometimes it is open so that folks could come in, and then you choose that. And then you can also go out. So the answer to your question is, when you say close friends, then that's close. That's like this little circle right here. But when you say friends and belonging, I'm friendly to all. But that notion of a friend versus an acquaintance versus a, hey, how you doing? Everybody has different circles. That's true. I'm a fan of that.
No, I love it. Let me push on that one more time. I find that, I'll be curious what you think, Robert, in a second here, but I find it's okay to segment your friendships. Like you said, you have your mother, father, cousin, nieces, nephew, people come for Thanksgiving, whatever, you cry to, tell everything to. Me and Robert, Lolita, for you, may not be, and are probably not in that circle, but there's another segmentation you could say in my business or whatever circle. In that circle, there's people who are closer to me. You and I have gotten closely over the last few months, and people who are not. So I think that if that makes sense what I'm trying to say, you can matrix it. There's people who you may go golfing with every day. This person you may not, but you consider them close in a different level. Does that make sense what I'm trying to say?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I can't wait to hear from another man's perspective on this. But here's the thing, is that segmenting is awesome. I love it. You know why? Because it's like-minded. I'm in a sorority. We have a common theme. If you're in a golf club, then there's a common theme right there. And sometimes you don't mix them. All my friends don't mix. Some of the friend circles, the attitudes with some of them won't be able to mix. Just therefore, some people you won't mix sometimes your club buddies with the business buddies, because the level of conversation is going to be very different. So segmenting, high five on that, Ramon. I'm a fan.
Love it. Robert Kennedy, talk to us about friendships. One, Robert, I guess I'm curious to know, do you even have any friends? Do you have anybody who you're close to? Or you just sit in that little video studio like a hermit all day long with your wife passing you crackers through like a hole in the wall?
Well, I need to get that hole in the wall for the crackers. I'm hungry right now. I'm like, where's she? Crackers. Listen, my kids say I don't have any friends. Right? Just because of this, but I don't have a group that I hang out with regularly. And to be quite frank with you, unlike what people assume about speakers, Robert tends to be an introvert, right? So friendships are hard for me. It's hard. The friendships require maintenance. It requires checking in. It requires speaking and communicating. And although I teach communication, I don't always like to communicate because that takes energy. And I'm like in recharge mode, especially because I train and speak during the day. Outside of that, I'm in recharge mode frequently. So friendships are challenging for me. That said, what you and Lolita are talking about as far as the different compartments or the different brackets, what the pandemic has taught me, as even though I am this introvert, during the pandemic, I found myself missing the fact that I recognized that I needed someone to reach out to me just to say, "Hey, dude, how you doing?" Right. And I was a little bit upset. I had a moment where I was like, yo, nobody from my church call me. There's nobody just texting me just to say, hey, I thought about you and I wanted to make sure that all was right in your world. And so I feel like I need that type of person, not every day, but every so often. But as far as close friends that hang out with me every day and that I check in on, I don't have a lot of those, but I do have some guys that I reach out to periodically to say, "Hey, what's up? I missed you, bro."
Oh, I love it. I love it. I'm going to tell you what I do in my world. But before I do that, I'm curious, Lolita, representing all the women of the world, Lolita, all the women, even though we can't generalize. Do you find, Lolita, that women's relationships and friendships and close friends business is a lot different than guys? Or is it very similar? Before I tell you about my friends and all that, if you could generalize for us, even though we shouldn't, talk to us about what you would guess, how you observe it, your male friends and girlfriends.
Yeah.
What's it like?
According to Lolita E. Walker, let me tell you what I've seen in life in my 44 years. Let's qualify that. But I do. I think that there is a difference. And I see with men, sometimes it is what it is. It's not a whole lot of anything else. It just is what it is. You grab some, you got friends over and it is what, nothing bothers you. It's just, that's it. With women, I think that it comes with this emotional tie and what a friendship is. And then there's expectations that tie. And if I was to really do a comparison side by side, I would say there are no expectations with men. It's just, it is. But with women, it comes with this emotional tie. So yes, I will say that. And then the other thing I wanted to add to that, Ramon, because I thought about this when Robert was talking, is I wonder, do you guys think this? As I get older, more seasoned, as I get myself more seasoned in life, then friendships, right, mean a little something different. Friendships are really that closeness. I'm not looking for another best friend. But when somebody comes into my life and it's attraction, the attraction is because we're flying at a different type of frequency on purpose, right? We're flying at this frequency, this higherness, this always being a forever student, this drive, this grind. And then there's this thing that's like, I've done all of that. I'm not interested in that anymore because I have my future self that's right there. So you weren't saying this stuff when you were a little younger. So friends were a dime a dozen. You gave this friend card out like this, like this. Now it's a privilege to be my friend. Yeah. And it's a privilege for me to be your friend. And that's a big deal. So yes, I don't give that out lightly. Yeah. And the relationship, and you mentioned it, our relationship has built over time, even with Robert, has built over time. And that thing is great because you continue to grow and see and you can assess. And then next thing you know, guess what we are? Right here on the Ramon Ray Show.
I love it. I love it how you piece that. And Lolita, you're so true. I think, Robert, I'd be curious if you affirm this or not, but I do find as a guy, shorter, faster, it is what it is. Yo, what's up, Robert? How are you? How's wife, kids? Good. Again, metaphorically in general, my wife told me that because I said, Ronnie, why can't you call 20 women in one day and say hi? She said, Ramon, I can't. If I call Becky, that's a 4-hour conversation, meaning, if that's, so I see Lolita nodding in agreement. Me, I got 20 dudes, and I told you this before, Lolita, and Robert, you may have heard it, who I go through like that. The check-ins, you, Robert, and I cry very easily. I can feel myself. These are young men that I literally call and just say, I just say, I'm thinking about you.
Oh, I love that.
I care about you. And some of them call me back maybe with problems and we talk longer, but unlike the ladies, it's purposeful. But these are young men, I just say, even sometimes, Robert, it's a WhatsApp. Now, my wife tells me she can't, and let me know if you agree, Lolita, sometimes you can, but look, with the ladies, WhatsApp and Facebook, you can, but they need real time. But my dudes, I just want you to know I care. I'm just calling you. And many happen to be younger. Not that I couldn't do it to Robert, but many are a bit younger. I'm almost 50. So Robert, feed off that. What do you think that Let me finish. One more thought I want to say is, I guess what I'm trying to say is that, yes. So there's the business relationships I have. Not that it couldn't be more, but me and Robert, business relationship as it were, but we're friends. He can call me, I call him, and we check in. How are things? And then, yes, Lolita and I, of course, for sure, same circle. But then, of course, I do have family, my cousin, my niece, my aunt. It's just different because some of them, by the way, I may not even like, but they're my family. So
they're automatically.
You know I mean? Yeah. So Robert, I've said a lot, but what'd you think about all that? Any of that made sense? What I'm trying to say?
Yeah, I mean, I think that there are guys that I can speak to. I don't even have to speak to them for like 2 years, and we get together, and it's like time didn't stop. It's like we pick up right where we left off. Like, yo, blah 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 blah. The kids, this, sports teams, whatever we're talking about, and it's like, and we don't need to talk for a long time to catch up. And I found that that's the case with a lot of my friends. My wife. She's got maybe a couple of friends that are like that, but she's also got a group of like 4 or 5 women that they talk like all the time. I mean, they go out to the restaurant. They, even during the pandemic, they would go to like the mall, the parking lot, and open up the hood or open up the trunk of the SUV, and they all bring snacks and picnic baskets, and they eat and all of that, right? But then they will leave, and then they'll come and they'll be texting on the text group that same night. All 4 of them that just work together.
Okay, Robert. I have to break. Robert, I got to break in on this. Robert.
Yeah.
Now I got to get Lolita to know if we're crazy. Robert, I'm sorry, Robert. Your wife is no different than my wife. So maybe, unless they're related, Robert, my wife, Lolita, now we're going to have a whole show on this. My wife will leave her sister. She's been with her sister, Robert, for 67 hours. They've been together talking about how to cut broccoli, how to do their nails, how to do their hair, how to shop. 67 hours. The commute back from Brooklyn to Jersey is 90 minutes. Now, me and my wife have a good relationship. We can chat, but they could talk, Robert.
The whole ride.
And I asked my wife, why? Lolita, talk to us. Help us understand this, Lolita. Help us understand this.
Listen, there's so much to catch up on. I mean, as you're talking, you think of something else, and then something happened, and that's what I'm saying.
But you just spent the night together.
I know, but it might be something else. Something happened on the road.
There's this dude. His name is Mark Gunger, and he's like a Christian relationship guy, a comedian. He says that men and women are different. Men have this space in their brain, and it's called a nothing box, right? Like there's nothing in it. Women, they like connect everything. Everything, every piece of information is connected one to the other. But men have this space. So like when women, they come to men and they're like, "What you thinking about?" And the good dude says, "Nothing." We're really thinking about nothing. Right? We don't want to be doing nothing. We just, we just want to sitting on the couch.
That's so interesting you said that. Just a quick story. I have a son. He's 10 years old. One son. And sometimes I say, "Well, what are you thinking about?" He's just zoned out. "What are you thinking about?" "Nothing." And I'm like, "No, it's something. Talk to me." And so to hear you say that, because I'm like, "Are you sure?" And he's like, "Yeah, nothing." And I'm like, is he not really trying to tell me, but thank you for saying that.
See, Robert, you've just helped Lolita unpack her son. But isn't that good? That's what friendships are about. We just don't know.
Yes.
So now you know, Lolita. And again, to go to that nothing box, I'm sure now I found as well, Lolita and Robert, that with somebody asking the right question, poking a bit more, but talking about men and ladies here again, not accusing me and all that, because then we'll go a whole other space. We start arguing and fighting. But if it's just a kind of a discussion, in other words, somebody have to know how to pull it out, because it's probably something. But ladies are easily, "Yes, my wife, how was the day?" Lolita, how it is. I'm saying respectfully, how was the day? Like 75-minute detail. She went here, did this, and then she put it in. No, it wasn't. No, it was yellow nail polish on the pink nail, green nail polish and yellow one. Then we went to her purse. She came from Nordstrom. We went to Nordstrom. Then we went up the escalator. Up the escalator, we got printed bagels. I'm like, "Ronnie, I just want to know, like, were you safe? And did you get what you needed? We good? Am I right, Robert? Talk to me."
Listen, there are times my wife and I, we've had to come to an agreement. I'm in the bedroom and I read before bed. So I'm in the bedroom and I'm sitting in the bed and I'm reading. I literally have a book open. And my wife's general practice is to like just come in the room and to like barge in. She's like having conversation. Hey, and I'm like, "Babe, I'm reading." Right? Because I'm trying to woosah from my world, and her woosah is just kind of venting
Downloading.
or downloading onto me,
Downloading.
and yeah, but
With you, not onto you. She's not just with you.
That's
With
right.
you.
okay, all
Robert,
right.
you say it, Robert. Let's say you said Dr. Lolita Walker has helped you. Say it. Repeat it, Robert.
With
Dr. Lolita Walker, relationship expert, has
I'll add it today. I'll add it to my email today.
That's right. All right, y'all. Let's move this forward. This is such a great conversation. Again, everybody on the Fox Soul community and everybody else, thanks for watching The Rundown with Ramon. I'm Ramon Ray. We hope you're enjoying the show. We hope you like it. We're having fun. And as I promised you, we want to help you grow your business better or live a better life. Lolita and Robert, we had a lot to talk about here. I was going to touch on this aspect of raising money for your business. Time is short. I wanted to touch on a different headline. American Airlines, Robert, I'll turn to you, talks about the focus on customers. There's been turbulent times. Things have not been going well for the airlines. But what this American Airlines executive said, the pandemic highlighted the need to be focused on customers at all times. And the executive went on specifically for them. We're also focused on fine-tuning our premium experiences. So the bottom line, Robert, here, what I'm hearing is that all of us, whether you're a billion-dollar company like American Airlines or you're a smaller business like we are here, get to know your customers better, because in hard times, instead of me trying to get a new customer, I'm trying to settle Lolita. She don't know who I am, nothing about me, and I'm trying to buy. Robert's already bought 3 pair of sneakers from me. He already likes me. Why don't I try to get him? So Robert, talk to us a bit. What do you think about that aspect of just getting closer to our customers?
I think people like comfort and relationships. Long-term relationships are cheaper for the organization, right? Rather than trying to procure new customers. And so I think it's really smart for companies to invest time in their customer service, to invest time into how the experience that they want their current customers to have, because if they do well at that, in many cases, you don't even have to do commercials or do the marketing. Your current customers will do it for you. They'll be like, listen, you got to come over here because this airline, this company, this organization is A1. They're fantastic, right? Because, like when you go online, if there's a bad experience, what's the customer going to do? Oh my gosh, they're hopping on Facebook, Twitter. They're hopping on every social media platform. They're making up stuff to shout the word about how bad or what an idiot you were, right? So really do your best to make sure that they have a great experience so that they can share that as well.
I love that, Robert. Lolita, is there something we can learn from these billion-dollar brands? They're going back to focus on us little people, but what can we small businesses learn from that focus on who you already have, who's already invested in you? Lolita, talk to us.
Yeah, I think it's exactly that. I love this question because here's the thing. The pandemic has shifted us, right? The things that used to be really, really important to us have shifted now. And now we want experiences because we see how quickly things can change. We see how quickly somebody's not here on earth. Like we know tomorrow's not promised, even later today's not promised, but it became real when you had to sit in the house and now you got to be with the people who you weren't really with, but you loved them, but you didn't really like them. All of that is now. So when I go out, I want to experience life. So what I say to that question that you have there is it's time to get in touch with the people who already were inside of our circle before and ask them, hey, what is it that you need? Because we might be doing ourselves a solid by asking them. So now we can shift as a business and not still try to give the same things that we did pre-pandemic.
I love it. That is powerful. But I think for sure, focusing on our customers, I encourage all of us to consider doing that. We're all small businesses, need money in different ways. And listen, instead of fighting and trying to get the customer who's not bought from you yet, focus on that. Listen, everybody, I love putting my panelists on the spot in a fun way. So I'm going to do it right now. I'm just going to see what Robert and Lolita do. We're going to talk about tech addictions. And I'm not going to tell them the answer first. I'm just going to have, well, you know what? We're going to have a vote right now. I'm going to put the screen back up. Lolita and Robert, by show of hands in the middle of the screen there, are you addicted to technology? Be honest. If you think you're not, no problem. I know we all use it, but do you think you're addicted? Robert?
I want to say
I just
no.
want a hand. No, I just want a hand. Okay. Go ahead. What were you going to say there, Robert?
Well, I mean, I want to say no because I think, especially even before the pandemic, And people would say, like, yeah, I see you online all the time. You're like blowing up LinkedIn. And my excuse to myself was I have to stay visible for my business, right? I'm serving people, I'm doing this, and if I disappear, then they'll go to somebody else. And so I had to do these things online. But I mean, a couple of weeks ago, I went to my vacation. I went to Puerto Rico, and I purposely did not take my laptop with me. I mean, I had my phone, but I didn't take my laptop with me, and um, I didn't post on social media at all, and I didn't really look at it. I looked at it a little bit, but I was at the beach with my family, and I came back, and you know what happened? The world still existed, and and my business still existed,
Yes.
and life was still here. So we got to figure out how to compartmentalize, or how to spend our time more effectively, especially on the things that are more important.
Yeah.
That is so true. Lolita, talk to us briefly, but I have a whole separate question I want to ask you. Lolita, though, what do you think about this aspect of
No, please
are we
go
addicted?
ahead. Please
All
go
right,
ahead
good,
with
good,
the
good.
next one. Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
addicted. I admit it.
He's like, I'm addicted. Let's move on. Done. Last thing I want to talk about, so many topics here, but we're coming to the end of this panel. What a great panel again. I hope you hit up Lolita E. Walker, Robert Kennedy III, and myself. Let us know how you like the show. I just wanted to touch on the aspect, Lolita, of negative mindsets. Lolita, we'll close on that, give you space for that. There's 5 negative mindsets that can wreck your judgment. I've already talked about them in the previous segment. There's mind reading, looking at other people. Mental filtering makes you pay attention to a small set of observations, ignoring all the others. Things called labeling, where you call yourself incompetent. Blame, when I concluded that my class was no good, I was engaging in self-blame. And all or nothing thinking, Lolita, all or nothing thinking causes us to view things in a polarized manner. Just riff off that, Lolita. Anything you're hearing there, Lolita, like you're like, Ramon, this is what people can do to stop the negative self-doubt that so many people do. Talk to us on that for a few seconds, Lolita.
Yes, there's a couple things. Let me just tell you what comes to mind. The first thing is talk to yourself how you deserve to be talked to. I
Mm.
talk to myself aloud every day. I'm a fan of power affirmations. And the reason is it's not only the affirmation of I am, but it's what goes behind it. How have you demonstrated it in the past? So that when your beliefs want to come and tell you, I'm not good enough for that, or whatever that is, you also have the proof is in the pudding. You're standing right here. I think the second thing is forever gratitude. Like when you wake up, gift gratitude, right? I pray. I have a morning routine before I even touch my phone. And I think that that's so super important, because what happens, we talked about technology, is as you go down, as you turn on the news, you start seeing negativity instantly. So you got to start feeding your mind with the intentions of your day, with the gratitude of your day. And then the last thing I'll say is, the intention piece right there. Okay, maybe second to the last thing I'll say. The intentions right there is start your day with, what's my intentions for today? Right? What is it? How am I walking in today? What is it that I want to accomplish? What am I going to do? What am I committing to for myself? And talk it out loud. Mirror work is the best thing in the whole wide world, right? Okay. The last thing I'll say is, towards the end of the day, I want you to celebrate your wins. Every day, my entire household writes up what is one small win. Inside of my group coaching program, literally, this is the work I had them do for 2 straight weeks. Write one win a day, not 2, not 0, not 5, 1. Right? And a win, this is the interesting thing. A win doesn't have to be, I got $1 million contract today. A win can be, I finally took a nap during the day. A win can be whatever it is that feels good to you. And at the end of that month, so I'm gifting y'all some nuggets right here in case you're not doing it. You engage your family with it, and you start talking about your wins for the day. It becomes a conversation piece. At the end of the month, I want you to read them all out loud. This month, I'm so excited because I ... all the way down and watch your life shift. You can thank me later. I'll take payments however y'all want to give them.
Robert, you're going to write a whole book with all your wins, brother, because I know you are a man on the move. Any last 10 seconds, Robert, you want to close us with what Alita said of the whole show? Talk to us, Robert.
First of all, you set us up because you had us label ourselves as social media addicts, and then you're going to follow that up with negative mindset. Come on, Ramon, mess with us. Yeah. I don't have anything to add to what Lolita said. She said all of the things that you need to do. I mean, go get a pen right now. If you have missed out on this and you've not done this practice, go get a pen right now. Stop right now and write down one win from today.
I love it. Hey, everybody, this is Ramon Ray. Rundown with Ramon. This is the panel discussion. We hope you loved it. We'll be back next time for another episode of the Rundown with Ramon. Robert Kennedy III, Lolita E. Walker. Thank you all. I'm not sure which way I'm pointing, but the screen's different. Thank you all so much as we end this episode.